And of course, the newspapers will be dominated by related issues about voter registration, how COVID-19 rules or the protocols were abandoned or, thrown to the dock, so to speak. And what a way for us to start. Joseph Akable is joining me this morning. Joseph, good morning. I hope you slept well.
Good morning, Roland. I hope you're doing well too.
Yeah, Charlie, today your voice is down. Why? Your morale is down.
Oh, you're there. We won't do the registration, so
yeah, true. Do you have a passport? Because I've been wondering since you're underage. Do you have a passport?
I'm not underage, and you are very much aware that I've been traveling around by God's grace sometimes, and so yes, I have a passport.
You're trying to put me out. You want to disgrace me on national TV.
I'm answering your questions, Roland.
Yeah, and you are doing the Business and Financial Times. We also have the Finder and the rest of the new. Which other ones are you doing, Joseph?
And so I am the Business and Financial Times. I have the Finder, like you mentioned, and I'll also do that of the Ghanaian Observer and the Daily Dispatch.
Awesome.
I'll leave the Daily Guide and Graphic to you.
Yeah, great. Can you do the first two? I'll do some others, and then you do the next two as well. Okay.
Okay. So first, with the BNFT, the front page, it says COVID-19 spares use of mobile banking, but customers still have cybersecurity concerns. On the front page, there's this story about Fidelity Bank attributing strong 2019 financial results to support of customers. And fluctuating oil prices put indigenous OMCs, BDCs in peril, also on the front page. And who wins presidential pitch 3 today is the question that the BNFT is asking this morning. The back page of the BNFT, it says ACH direct debit could help improve loan recovery. That's according to Gibbs. And seafarers need more recognition, also on the back page of the BNFT. I can move on and do the front page of the Finder now. It has the story that he mentioned earlier about the voter registration exercise. It says voters rush for cards, but many disregarded social distancing protocols. And CBG supports NDA with 50,000 cities to return over 500 KIA home. GMA laments lack of PPE, shortage of COVID-19 test kits, and compilation of voters register 30th June to 6th August 2020, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day is the advertisement put out by Ghana's Electoral Commission. And the back page, before you come in, Roland, of the final news, CBG supports NDA, that story is on the back page. And Ghana records 390 new COVID-19 cases. Recovery cases now stands at 13,268. I think you're referring to recoveries and discharges, standing at 13,268, Roland.
Yeah, I wanted you to add the discharges, recoveries and discharges. Well, so I'll do two more. So I'll do the Daily Graphic has on the front page, enthusiasm. Many turn up to register on first day. Social distancing protocols breached. We all do know that. A grave concern expressed by the Ghana Medical Association. COVID-19 private sector fund appeals for support, and we know that they are building that 100-bed facility in the Ghana East hospital premises, or on the Ghana East hospital premises. But up there we have the pictures showing COVID-19 protocols not fully being adhered to, even though you will not find it fully in the pictures. But the social distancing, Charlie, I don't know. Government's free water for all ends. What a bad way for me to end the month. I'm not going to get the free water again, so the bill will be coming. I've been thinking about it. Our Electoral Commission 2020 voters registration exercise movement plan again published, the phase 1. So you just have to get onto the pages 22 to 43 of the Daily Graphic and get all the updates. But we also did have the chairperson of the Electoral Commission announcing what the plan is. She said it was also on their website as well. Political actions must lend credibility to electoral process. That's also in the center spread of the Daily Graphic. And then we do have on the back page, Euro gets balls redeems pledge to Upper West. hands over a customized ambulance. That's also there. But a story we also featured prominently in our bulletins in the early part of the morning of Tuesday. 10 died in another road crash in the Ashanti region. And this one near the Obuasi area. The driver was driving from Dunkwa on Ofin towards Kumasi and had the accident at Awona, a town along the Obuasi-Dunkwa road. Very unfortunate, tragic incident there. Let's do the Ghanaian Times. And the Ghanaian Times has on the front page, voter registration takes us smoothly, but with social distancing, mask wearing concerns. And this is adequately captured. President also inaugurates 74.3 million Ghana City water project in the central region. That's also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. We'll deal with troublemakers at registration centers, the Greater Accra Regional Minister says, and who wins presidential pitch today. And that is on the Ministry for Business Development taking care of that alongside the Special Initiatives Ministry. Meanwhile, Matters Day marked, we have 3 judges murdered 38 years ago, and they have been remembered. That is an event that the Ghana Bar Association makes sure that they don't ever gloss over. Every year they mark it. And I've always said that this is quite remarkable, very remarkable of the Bar Association. On the back page of the Ghanaian Times, whole residents count losses from heavy rainfall, and it's been raining every week for the last couple of months as it is because of the topography or the vegetative nature of the area. MOFA, that's the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Canadian government, they launched a 2.5 million Ghana Cedi program to support women farmers. That's also getting space on the back page of the Ghanaian Times. Joseph.
We can do the front page of the Ghanaian Observer, and that's of the Dispatch now. The Ghanaian Observer has this story about the registration exercise. It takes from the angle that it takes off smoothly, and COVID-19 fight, don't open borders is coming from Guta. And I don't want to be winner of rigged elections, it's according to President Akufo-Addo, also on the front page of the Ghanaian Observer. We can do the back page now, has this sports story about Jordan Ayew escaping red card after punch on Josh Brownhill. Oche Wright wins Player of the Season award in Germany, also on the back page of the Ghanaian Observer. And I'll end with that of the Daily Dispatch that says, voting pattern of Ketu South, the constituency at the center of controversy between NPP and NDC. The longest serving MPs in Ghana's parliament also on the front page, and Professor Alabi heads NDC 2020 campaign team. And Akufo-Addo can't force Auditor General to go on leave, is according to Professor Stephen Kweku Asari. The back page has the Ketu South story, and also go out and register. That's coming from the presidency. So Roland, you can continue with that of guidance graphic now.
Okay. So I do have the front page of the Custodian. It's there. I don't need rigged election to win 2020 polls, Akufo-Addo. Alabi heads NDC's campaign team, and all of this. They have this great poster that has been captured on the front page, the Electoral Commission. It says, compilation of new voters register, everyone matters. And with this, we also on the AM show right here JoyNews, we encourage everybody as much as possible. If you have the document, you have somebody to guarantee for you, make sure that you troop to those centers, but observe those COVID-19 protocols and go and register. That's on the front page of the Custodian newspaper. The Statesman says, smooth start for voters registration with few problems at centers. It has an attached picture of Mrs. Jean Mensah, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. Chairman Wuntumi cautions against aiding foreigners to register. And down there, Mahama to scapegoat Alabi for likely 2020 defeat. But Joseph, what do we look to? What's your pick for the morning, Joseph?
I think certainly there are stories related to the voter registration exercise. I mean, what's your own assessment of it? I mean, we saw, I think we keep having the same issues every time we either vote or have a registration exercise. So we are looking at late starts, we are looking at the process being slow, we are looking at equipment that is not going to be functioning. I mean, I think those are things that we can easily predict for every such exercise. And so it's obviously bedevil the process. But there were some areas that recorded some significant numbers. We had that story that Ohimiteria sent us from Ejiso where the process was relatively better. But if you contrast that with the situation in Ododio where Maxwell was, where for close to 5 hours registration not started due to disagreement over the location. And so this is what it is. I mean, I think that what is worrying for me and Roland is the fact that people still do not understand how serious COVID-19 is. I think we've put enough blame at the doorstep of the security agencies and everything. I have seen photographs that one of our colleagues took from various centers here in Accra, and you see clearly that these are people who simply don't care. I mean, people who have taken off their mask, were getting too close to each other, and there was a situation of water. People were actually fighting to decide, shoving each other to decide who gets into the queue first to register. And this is something that is even dangerous if we even want the police officers to even go in there and enforce the protocols. It's amazing. I don't know what's your own assessment of why we keep doing this to ourselves.
Yeah, it's quite a sorry state. The predicament we find ourselves is something that's a bit baffling. Baffling to me because it's not the first time that we've convened such mass events, i.e. the registration exercises or the compilation for the national identification cards, and now we're having an election coming forward. But what even makes me very pessimistic about the nature by which we have started this whole exercise is the way we have decided to just throw away all the related cautions, because I think we should have anticipated that when we have such exercise, people take it seriously. They take it seriously because they have guidance from their members of parliament, the various political actors or state actors who make sure that they rally people, because it's a time that they need to get their names on the register to go to the centers. And I feel that while we don't have to put more responsibility on so-called the national COVID team or the security officials, I think the blame has to, one, go to the Electoral Commission, because we should have anticipated this and know that people will be enthusiastic. And so the distancing and the responsibility of the maintenance of these protocols should be their own. And I think while the exercise may have been slow but still went on technically, on the side of the public health concerns, the organizations like the doctors or the GMA, etc., are very much right. And I shudder to think what will happen, because we have transmissions, even though we say that there are recoveries and discharges making the bulk of the up-to-date cases. The transmissions are indicating that at the community level, the virus is there. Joseph.
Yeah, and I would want, beyond those in authority, I would want people to take charge of, matters. Because for the past few days, I have friends who I was with. Fortunately, I was in mask during those periods and tried to distance myself. And they took the test like 10, 11 days back, and they'll come and tell you that my test results just came in and I tested positive. That is how real the virus is. And so the person who is in a queue ahead of you, you may know the person, you've been going to eat with the person who lives as your neighbor and everything, but the person may have the virus and you wouldn't know. And we don't want to get into a situation where we end up overwhelming our health infrastructure. At least with a new policy that we are rolling out, discharging people who are not showing symptoms and people who have exceeded 11 days, it's reduced the pressure, but it doesn't negate the fact that people are dying from COVID. And I saw a post from the Ningo Prampram MP Sam George about his friend who drove to UGMC, and he said a friend drove himself, so there was nothing wrong with him, he was in good shape. He drove there because he had tested positive and he died. That's how serious it is. And so we really need to be careful and mindful of that particular issue.
Yeah, because if you go to the National COVID team page, we do have confirmed cases up to date. And again, this is up to date, some 17,741. But we say we have recoveries and discharges of some 30,200. But having these active cases, and ultimately because of the delays in getting your test results, and perhaps also not now doing the test widely as we used to do at the beginning of the period, will mean that people keep transmitting. And you can imagine, you even alluded to an instance where friends would have to wait for 10 to 11 days before they get the result. What happened between that first day and the 11th day? It means that if somebody is vulnerable by way of their immune system, they could get the virus, right?
Exactly, and those people move around. They board cars to the offices where they work. They move everywhere, and it's because they simply are not showing symptoms, and so they don't even have reason to believe that they've, I mean, contracted a virus or have the virus, and so they end up infecting many others. And by the time that the results even come in, and so that also explains the point that the Ghana Health Service made yesterday at the news conference, that a lot of people who are dying are those who come in between 24, they die 24 and 48 hours after reporting at the hospital. It will make sense because if someone takes a test and after 10 days of taking the test, his result now comes in that is positive. What we need to understand is that he may have contracted it prior to even the 10 days because the 10 days is from the day that the sample was taken. And so if he had contracted it 4 days earlier, it means that he has lived with the virus for 14 days before coming to the hospital, by which stage the impact on his lungs and the immune system as a whole would have happened already. And so when you go to the hospital within 48 hours, if you are not strong enough, or if you've gotten to the point where the immune system is already given up, then there's little that can be done to save the person. And so the best would be for us to be very aggressive on the safety protocols to ensure that we just avoid contracting it in the first place. And I mean, live a healthy lifestyle to try and strengthen our immune system.
Yeah, it's a great worry for all of us. We'll see how we go with it. But at the end of the day, we know that we're all alone in this. We keep talking about it, but it's something that we have to take as seriously as we can. There's a story before we go on to myjournline.com that I want you particularly to give me some concrete focus on, and it's on the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, and it's a story attributed to the Professor Kweku Azar, even though we know that's not his real name, but it says Akufo-Addo can force Auditor General to go on leave. And if you go to page 11 of that story, and it's because it's been quelled from a post by the man himself, Professor Kweku Asari, and if you read it, he makes some poignant points there, and I'm sure that you've seen it as well. What do you make of it? And it's related to that statement that said 123 days leave outstanding. The Auditor General needed to take them.
I think the key point he makes in that write-up that captures the matter for me is the fact that he doesn't think that the Office of the Auditor General was created with the impression that it will become an employer-employee relationship between the president, who becomes the chief employer, with the Auditor General becoming his employee, such that if you wake up and our employers here at Multimedia feel that Roland Walker, you're not going for leave, they direct you to go on leave. He says he doesn't think that for such an independent institution, that was what the premise of the constitution intended to happen. Else you simply, sacrifice that independence. And so what happens tomorrow? The president appoints the Auditor General. We know that the president appoints the EC chairperson too. So we are about to organize an election, and the president says, okay, the EC chairperson, Jen Mensah, since taking office, has not gone on leave for 200 days, and so proceed on, take your accumulated leave. It obviously doesn't augur well, and so it's very worrying. And even the point I was making yesterday has to do with the governance looks, the looks that it gives it, and that is why, if indeed there was the need for someone to take the accumulated leave, there's a better way of doing it than a letter from the presidency asking that, proceed on leave. And the understanding we are getting is that he's approaching the retirement age as well. And the context, again, is relevant. If you recall, quite recently, the CDS, who was supposed to retire, was given a 6-month extension such that he retires sometime in January 2021. And people have made reference to that instance to show that this is someone who is even due for retirement. And so the individuals who are actually supposed to retire, we are giving them extensions, while there are those who we think that, okay, we have to ask you to take your leave. And that's why I was making a point yesterday, that why must he take the over 100 days at the same time? And so at a time when he is in court with a senior minister after issuing a $1 million surcharge, we know the disagreement he has had with the board chairman. We heard the board chairman actually say that he doesn't work with the board, and the board had reached out to him to ask him to take his leave, and they had refused. Then all of a sudden he says the board now informs the presidency of the situation, and the presidency issues that letter to him. In terms of the governance issues, it doesn't look well. And like I said, it only gives credence to the suspicion that there are persons in power who are not comfortable with the work that Mr. Domelevo is doing. And he himself had said that he's aware of a plot to have him removed. And so this is something that we shouldn't let happen. And a joke that was made by one of our colleagues in the legal fraternity was that, the statement quoted the Professor Mills president as
and it's in relation to the current chair who was the boss at the time. His time was not due, was almost due though, but was not due, and should have been given the chance to finish off his term, and it looks like tit for tat. But I'm wondering.
Yeah, the point the lawyer was making was that in Ghana, politicians quote actions of their opponents in the past as if it's a judicial precedent, and they actually respect that more than actual judicial precedents. Because, once the quote is made, clearly that, it's become something that they anticipate it becomes a political football game. And so they're already saying that, okay, you also did the same thing.
Why I do anticipate those. One day, if the NDC comes to power, they may do some reciprocation, I'm sure.
Obviously, it won't end it at all.
Well, we'll see how it goes. And Joseph Akablay, thank you very much. We're told that the 2020 league season is off. I know you love football, but we're talking the Ghana League here. It also means that it's done and dusted. We're off it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Ghana League. I was watching a few of the games, about 3 or 4 games, and so I think it's good it's been cancelled. I listened to Benedict. He'll bring some details later on, but we understand it would have cost each club about 60,000 to stage one football match.
Wow!
So obviously, this is not something that they could have afforded.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Joseph Akablay. I wish you well for the day. I know that work is hectic these days, and God give you strength. But as we move on, let's wrap up with some look at what's on the homepage or the main page of myjoyonline.com. Is the foremost news portal currently, right now, progressively in Ghana. And the main story, daylight robbery and police on manhunt for motor riding robbers who gunned down the caretaker of the Bantama SDA church. The sad. You move up. There's also a story about voters registration exercise. The EC impressed with turnout on day one. Well, what they shouldn't be impressed about is the flouting of the coronavirus rules, or the restrictions and the social distancing, the non-wearing of face masks, etc. What is also related to elections is I will hold you responsible for any mishap. As a Kori Mampong, MC to Asawasi Member of Parliament, Muntaka Mubarak had indicated that he had seen the signs. He was very suspicious of non-constituent residents or non-constituency residents or constituency non-residents being bussed to come and register in the constituency. And he believes it's all to show up votes of his opponent, now the main candidates in the for the MPP in the next parliamentary elections just in December. And he's raising concerns, and he's had a swift reply from the Asokore Mampong Municipal Chief Executive. Kind of very fascinating there. Let's address all sources of tensions ahead of elections. And Mr. Anthony Forson Jr., the boss of the GBA, or president of the GBA, bringing that statement out, signing it adequately, and giving out those cautions to the political actors. Tendai Ngori accident at Obuasi Dunkwa, and Ghana's COVID-19 cases up by some 390. And we have to tell you, for the last 6 weeks, we've just not gone below 300, it looks like. We're just going there, 300, 400, 500, 300, 400. We're dancing around the tune of the cases. But the discharges and the recoveries, remarkably or coincidentally, also seem to be very good as well. So, well, all these stories are on myjoyonline.com, but that's where we have to do sports, and Benedict Owusu will be joining us with the latest. Now we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you sports.